All right, welcome to episode 17 of PuckPod by BD Sports. Technically, we missed that last episode because unfortunately the video wouldn't export it in process, but it's okay. We got a couple clips out of it, all that matters. But we're back in business. Here we are again. I'm here with David. I'm here with Christian. Dave, how was your week?
My week was pretty good. My last 24 hours have made me feel terrible about myself. So last night, as you're gonna hear later on in the episode, the Leafs blew a tire against the Habs, of course, because it's like, why not? Then this morning, Man United lost in the 90th minute to Arsenal. Pretty heartbreaking because
That was a good game.
I was at work eating my lunch, and I just saw that like the goal go in, and it was just so like disheartening. But they're on the up, so I'm not that pressed about it. And then as of like I don't know, maybe the game wrapped up quite a while ago, but the Bills got like run out of their own building today, so it's just it's been a rough 24 hours for me. Listen, I'm the type of guy that lives and dies with the teams that he supports. Like I'm not the type of guy that'll just be like, "Oh, I'm not expecting anything, so I don't even care." I'll say that, but I don't mean it. Like any team I cheer for, I'll cheer with them. Like I'll cheer for them like through thick and thin. So
Ride
it
or
hurts
die.
me every ride or die, baby. Like it just hurts me every time. Like any heartbreak. It sucks. But what are you gonna do?
Christian?
They've made some good points there, man. My week, I injured myself in like the stupidest way possible. Imagine you guys are like Frankenstein's, like
Yeah,
where
yeah.
where you right, yeah, you reach for your leg with your opposite arm. Okay, so I'm literally doing those for one of my classes because I've got to take all these stupid things. And anyways, this was for this class called Court Games, where I do table tennis and squash. So
Nice.
squash is pretty cool. Anyways, I'm doing Frankenstein's, and my knee just decides
Pop.
I'm gonna stop working. No, nope, not pop, because the pop already happened. But it just decided I'm going to cease to exist, and it just kind of like I just kind of like collapsed on myself. It was really stupid. I'm like, I cannot believe that just happened during Frankenstein's in warm up. This is the stupidest injury I've ever sustained. So, bad start to the week. Got worse, like Dave said. Leafs L. But it is what it is, and just kind of drank the pain away last night. So, pretty good, pretty good.
It's always good. Gotta love that.
This was probably the most boring week I've ever had in a while. Like now that I don't have anything else to do, I just like besides my 9 to 5, my job, I play chess, I play video games, and I watch sports. And I'm not gonna lie, it's a little bit unsettling now that I know that I'm doing it because I have nothing better to do. But but no, it's
And you just crapped all over our podcast, bro.
Yeah, like what the heck, dude? You're literally the host. What the
No, but hear me out. Hear me out. Usually, like I'm busy. I have like a lot of stuff to do. I have things to work towards, like this and that. This week, no, I
Yeah.
just played chess and watched sports and worked. Like
Listen, dude, when you get a week like that, right?
appreciate it.
It's good. It's
Yeah,
good as long as the next week is back to normal, right? Like
Some
yeah, like you.
productivity.
Yes, exactly.
but
'Cause, yeah, if you
that's
have back to back weeks like that, the second week is just like terrible.
that's the
But
thing though.
Yeah, I've been
Like
having
you
years
work a
like
9 to 5. You're
that.
literally like that's full time. Like you work, bro. That is the
that's true.
productivity, man. You're allowed to chillax
That is
after
very
working
true.
9 to 5.
But
So
that's the thing
Mhm.
though. Like I'm just so used to having like extra stuff. It's like whenever I have like
yeah,
nothing to do, man, like it feels like a little bit like draining. But I will say this: I'm very fortunate to still have a job. Obviously, times are getting tough. Not sports related, but Microsoft, Google, Amazon. I think that like all cumulatively they've had I think 30,000 layoffs as a whole. Pretty ridiculous.
Mhm.
And sticking it to sports, we saw Vox owned SB Nation had mass array of layoffs too. We saw Bell last year with layoffs around this time, and man, as times are getting tougher, sucks to hear for our brethren out there, right? And it's it's a little bit unfortunate and unsettling given the situation because you know the job market's already so hard in this industry. That's why we started this, right? We wanted to have our own thing going, and to see that this happening to the bigger company like the big dogs, what does it make you think, Dave?
Well, here's the thing. Like, nobody's untouchable, right? So, like, I remember last year, I'm pretty sure one of the biggest eye-opening like layoffs I saw last year was from TSN. They had probably like most Canadian kids grew up watching Jay and Dan, like Jay Onrait and Dan O'Toole, and then they let go of Dan O'Toole. So now it's just been Jay Onrait doing his, or if it wasn't last year, it was the year before. It was in that pandemic period, and that just like they brought those two back to reclaim their former magic because like undoubtedly like they had some unbelievable chemistry going on with each other for years before they moved to the States. uh I didn't think that I guess that it was a business decision at the end of the day. Like I don't have numbers in front of me here, but to let go of a guy like, Dan O'Toole, who was like a part of the TSN brand for dozens of years. I know even going on that point with TSN, they were laying off people like that were there for almost 30 years. It was like guys that were on the radio for 30 years. It just that's the way that the industry's shifting. A lot of the jobs that were around 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, are already starting to fade, and we're starting to go into the digital market. But unfortunately, as we saw, the digital market as well isn't as safe and secure as many people probably thought it was, and we're losing a lot of good content and stuff like SB Nation. So in particular, the pension plan puppets, that would be the Leafs affiliate blog site. They've come out. If I'm not mistaken, they were the ones that came up with the um, would a
Potato thing.
potato would a
Yeah.
potato do better than was it Dave Nonis?
Yeah, and I do want to clarify. Um, they are still around. Like I know we're talking about these cuts by SB
Yeah,
Nation. They are one of the ones that survived the cut. I think it was six
did they?
NHL markets that survived. Yes, yes,
Oh,
yeah.
I heard
So I
because
think
what I heard was all the Canadian markets got their funding cut.
let
Or
I'll
maybe
go
I'm
ahead and
wrong.
take a look too. From what I saw, I think it's they're keeping like six markets.
I
It's
wouldn't be
like
surprised if
Boston,
just original
Montreal,
six.
Toronto.
Yeah.
It might
See,
be. It might
See
be.
that would make more sense than not keeping any of the Canadian markets because it just comes off like I get it if you wanna maybe it's not as profitable in places like Columbus or Arizona and 100% there's definitely arguments towards that, but like to cut the funding from the Toronto based and the Montreal based, even I'll be even honest with you, like I saw like the Philadelphia one has a big support. Um
It's
the
crazy.
Rangers, obviously has big support as well. Like you cut funding from teams like that, like it's so baffling. But at the end of the day, the economy as a whole right now, guys,
Not
isn't
too
that
hot.
great. I'm
Yeah.
I'm not like listen, I won't be the first. I'll sit back and I'll say like I'm not the one to talk about like economics and stuff. Brian definitely knows a lot more than me. He's got the into it of for the economics and stuff probably. I don't know if like yes
Yeah,
or
I'm a
no on
nerd.
that one, Brian.
I'm
Yeah,
a nerd.
so
Yeah.
there you go. Yeah, so I won't. But listen, it's agreed upon. Like all the analysts are saying, we're in a recession right now. The economy's not doing so well. We're trying to get out of that post-pandemic slide. The
It's just crazy
other
because this
other
industry
events around the world haven't helped either.
this industry as a whole is just so hard to make it in, right? And when you do
Yeah.
get the
Yeah.
opportunity, it must be devastating. There's a new hire that probably got axed or somewhere over there, and man. But the main thing is like good content prevails, passion prevails. If you want, you can
Mhm.
keep at it, and at the end of the day, like, eye on the prize, and things will get better. Hopefully, a couple
Let,
years from
let's
now,
yeah, like let's be clear. That makes it
we're
seem
not
like I'm
going
going
anywhere.
against the grain here. No, yeah. Okay, so two things. Just from looking at pension plan puppets, I actually do think it might have been an NHL wide thing. They've got an article that kind of outlines an uncertain future past February. And if that is the case that we're losing them too, just leave specific. There's very good content creators that either were there or are there right now. Like a lot of names I recognize and podcasts I listen to, like Heart of Lad, Katya Knapp. I think Acting the Flumen probably was there at one point. I don't think he still is, but
Such a
he's a guy.
great follow. That is
Yes,
one of the best
exactly.
Twitter follows I've ever made. He's so
Yes.
funny.
Him and Arvin's they had their podcast. I used to listen to that one a lot. So leave specific. That sucks if we're losing those guys, but I'm very confident that we're not losing those guys from the whole industry.
Mhm.
We're just losing them from where they started out. Right? They're gonna have to figure out where they're gonna go from there. But we talked about passion and talents. Those guys have it. They'll find a spot, no problem. We talked about TSN layoffs. There was Sportsnet layoffs too. Like um,
Mhm.
Bob McCowan, he kind of just like it was kind of just like a disappearance. He was just like, oh yeah, so I'm done. Bye. That's kind of what happened there. Hockey related, like guys, older guys, Doug McLean, John Shannon, Kiprios for a time. Basically, that whole Hockey Central panel has kind of been recycled. And specific to the TSN, going back to like last year, it was either last year or 2 years, like you said, it was around this time. And what comes up around this time too is Let's Talk, right? And the hypocrisy around that.
Yeah.
So it's just something to keep in mind. With we talked about the SB Nation layoffs or whatever too. Like some of these conglomerates, like it's a little out of
If
touch, right, with
if
the
I'm not
context of what's going on.
if I'm not mistaken, I believe one of the stories last year or the year before, I can't remember
Yeah, they
exactly. Don't
blend,
quote me on
man.
this, but it was that a lot of people were given their walking orders on the Bell Let's Talk day, which is if it wasn't on the day itself, it was like within the 24 hours, which is kind of like,
Yeah,
you know,
so
as we're gonna
hypocritical.
talk about after with a certain coach being axed as well,
It's a
you
very
know,
good analogy.
how we're like, how hypocritical can you be? Like how short-sighted
The, th-
Tone
can
deaf,
some
man.
companies be? It's so tone deaf
the thing
when
is,
you're doing stuff like that.
like, we see this a lot in other industries. Microsoft, they have a huge M&A going on with Activision. I think it's a $70 billion bill or something, like $70 billion deal or something
Yeah,
like that. But 10,000 layoffs. They also invested
Yeah.
$10 billion into ChatGPT like that same week. It happens. At the end of the day, like Dave said, everybody can potentially get axed, but usually the people that are last to get axed are the ones at the top making those decisions, right? Which is really,
that's
really
a good point.
interesting, given the situation with everything going on in this world right now. Because let's be honest, guys at the top are the ones that are usually eating the best meals at the end, like at dinner, right? But
Yep. 100%.
we're not going anywhere. The main thing is that we're gonna keep doing our thing. We found a way to keep our
We're
costs.
here.
Yeah,
Nobody's cutting us. We're the bosses.
we found a way
We
to
here.
we found a way to keep our costs low, and we're locked in for 2 years. So like it or not, we're here for 2 more years, boys. That
Talking about eating good. I've been eating so good. Good, bro. Oh, all the time.
and anyway, do you guys think that like the hockey layoff specifically from SB Nation, has anything to do with the NHL itself fundamentally not marketing itself well? Because there was a quote from Vander Kane that went something along the lines of like, the stars that the NHL promotes are bland, and you don't you don't say, right? But in regards to that
Well,
quote
where is he
specifically,
wrong? Where's the lie in that?
that's an interesting
There
take,
isn't
Dave.
a lie.
There
Yeah,
isn't a lot,
there you
yeah.
go.
There isn't. Dude,
No.
the best hockey player in the world right now is Connor McDavid, and that
Yeah.
guy doesn't say a thing. The biggest like I remember like, Evander Kane, he was always known as somebody who was a bit flashy. And like on his Instagram, he would post pictures of him with like
With the
racks
yeah,
racks
yeah,
of cash. Like what was it? He was doing like push-ups on his back, and
yeah.
that was news in the NHL for months on end, saying like, should this be in the game? Should this? Or you could go to the Carolina Hurricanes with their bunch of jerk celebration. Any way to
Oh,
get the fans
okay.
engaged, and we had
Yeah.
we had civil war in the streets with one side of the hockey community saying, it's not good. It's bush league. Well, listen, it's not for everybody. I get it 100%, but they're engaging their crowd. Like, isn't that what we're trying to strive here for? Carolina's not a strong market to get people. Like, you've got
They're not a
you
traditional market, right?
exactly.
They
They're
won't,
not a traditional market.
unless they have like good like a structured organization
Yeah,
like they do right
the
now.
Leafs will
They
never
still
do
go.
something. The
Yeah,
Leafs will
the
never
Leafs
do
could be
that.
the most dysfunctional franchise. They could have a literal potato. Forget as the GM, have the potato own the team, and fans
Yeah,
are still showing up to the game, right?
100%.
That is not every market. Yeah, McDavid is obviously the poster boy for bland star. Um,
Yeah.
You think
So
that's
Christian, just one last thing before.
yes, go.
So what my point was with Evander Kane before I started. I
Yeah,
get sidetracked really quick. Was like that story was in newspapers in the headlines for weeks on weeks on weeks. You go to the NFL, that's a typical,
yeah.
Friday night post on Instagram for most of these guys, right?
NBA.
You go to NBA, dude. In the NBA, these guys are coming in like $10,000 suits. Like, they had the whole shift from their dress attire when they walked in. Like now, everybody's free to express themselves, and of course,
Yeah,
the NHL's last to do that because the NBA did it first. The NHL did it. Sorry, the NFL did it first. The NBA did it next. I don't know about baseball, but then the NHL did it. A couple of years after the fact as well. It's just like we're always last to everything. We don't put ourselves in a position to succeed. We just want to stay, sheltered and
nice
secluded.
and
It's like this is our own little thing. You guys could have your own little thing. We don't want to push out and venture more. Like, what's the
yeah.
point then? Like, I thought
No,
we were trying to be a growing and thriving business. That's not how you grow and thrive by being like, these are all my cookies. You guys have your own cookies over there. I like mine the way it is. Like,
but do you also
I
feel
don't know.
like
So
do you
counterintuitive.
also feel like sometimes because we're so structured, when we see that little bit of Zegras flair, we see that little bit of something like does it make it more special? Like, you know what I mean? Or another thing too, do you feel like the way that the NHL is the product of the way that players are brought into the system? Players these days, like if they are known to act up, their draft stock falls like crazy.
like what is the definition of acting up? I think like that's where we're kind of arguing that the definition needs to change, right?
Yeah.
Because
Mm,
in the NBA and the NFL, that's not acting up,
Nope.
right? If Evander
yeah.
Kane, all this stuff, if he did all that as an NBA or NFL player, it might not even be commented on. Forget about like blowing up as it does in the NHL. Um, who's the captain of the biggest market in the NHL? It's a hockey robot. It's John Tavares. He's got no personality outside of hockey. He eats celery and kale
He
and
has a
plays hockey.
kombucha top in his house. Did you see that?
I've heard about it, but I've never actually watched that video. But like,
That's
Dude,
disgusting.
I don't
like,
think I can bring myself to watch too many
are
like
you
non-hockey
kidding me?
related videos.
That
He's
is
so
Are
gross, bro.
you kidding me,
right.
dude?
Yeah, no, that's nuts.
I
That's
get it.
nuts. Yeah.
I get it. Be
Um.
on your health thing, bro, but like,
Yeah.
are you kidding me,
We
dude?
don't need a
Really?
full fledged feature on it and everything. But Brian, you brought up Zegras, um, and he's an example of a change in the guard, so to say, in the NHL, where we could get it just a natural turnover to players who are more out there, like Evander Kane wants. Here's the quote. The exact quote was, "You look at many of the players the NHL tries to promote and uses as faces of the league. They're some of the quietest and reserved people. Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid, John Tavares, Jonathan Toews, yada, yada, yada."
You
But
know,
you cannot say the same for some of the young guys. Like even Bedard is a guy who doesn't he seem like a guy who's got some huge personality that
He's being locked
like
up.
he's got a swagger on
yeah,
him.
right, yeah, he's being cautious. We saw in his comments to the World Juniors, like you see the gears turning in his head. He prepares his answers ahead of time. In the NHL, I think it'll be a totally different story. He could be a guy who speaks his mind a lot more than the other Connor, right? Even Austin Matthews, he's more on the flashy side. Like he gives you a good hockey quote, but he's got tons of other interests outside of hockey, and just things that are definitely really marketable. So, is there a problem? Can the NHL themselves do a better job? 100%. They might luck out into their problem being less of a problem, because I think some of the younger guys coming up are going to they might do the work for the NHL. They might put themselves out there themselves without the NHL's help. That's
You
where I
know
kind of
who
stand.
else? You know who else had a problem like that, and they're starting to slowly turn a corner? The MLB. So I said
Yes, you're
before,
right.
I said before, like I was like thinking about like the MLB, but they tried so hard to push Mike Trout as the face of the league, which,
Yeah,
albeit for 5 to 6 years there, he was undoubtedly like that McDavid. It was Mike Trout and everybody else, right?
in so
But
many
now
stats.
now you've got guys, Vlad Guerrero Jr., Julio Rodriguez. Dude, that entire, if you look at the 1-9 Dominican Republic
I
team at this World Baseball Classic,
yeah
that
yeah
if like I'm Canadian, I might legitimately just cheer for them because that team looks stacked. They look fun. They
They're-
look like they're so outgoing and enjoyable.
oh
Spe-
yeah.
speaking,
They're thinking about putting Juan Soto in the 9 hole.
Like how
ah,
ridiculous, dude. How
Yeah, Brian
ridiculous.
can relate to that. Brian can relate to Juan Soto.
I watched baseball like one season of my life, and my team
The
won.
season where the Nats, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly,
and it
exactly.
was also the season where I just stuck with him, even though they're at one point they're like last, right? And I remember that like you know how he has that little like shake, like he sticks his leg. I don't know, like I think they call it like the shuffle or something like that.
In
The
the
Yeah,
Soto
box,
shuffle.
like as
Yes,
he's
something like that. The
squaring it
Soto
up for
shuffle.
a ball.
yes, like he
Yeah,
shuffles his leg
yeah.
a little bit, and when like he's like the only player that does something in that motion or vigorously, right?
If we're
And
gonna call that personality, that's a little. I don't know. I feel like that's a little too
Well,
far.
listen,
I get what you're saying.
but
that's a sport that went from like if you stared at the ball, like you
Yeah,
stared at
you're
your
right.
home run
yeah,
for longer than 2 seconds, the next player on the team was getting beamed in the head.
Yeah.
So, like,
If you
if that's the
accidentally threw your
personality,
bat a little hard, then you get
but
mauled
yeah,
at first
if
base,
you
or you might
put your
get
bat
punched out.
over your left shoulder instead of like dropping it on the floor, that was in terms for a full out brawl, like everybody coming
Yeah.
out of the dugout to fight.
but
So,
but
I
my point
guess
is
if that's what it
my
is.
point is that same season we had a guy Anthony Rendon who didn't show much personality, but was almost like I'd even argue better than Soto that season, right? So it's just interesting that you have a guy that shows personality, performs, but
Yeah.
takes more star power and kind of acts in a way that makes him he was the face of our franchise for a bit because Rendon left the next year, but he got slandered for showing that little bit of personality sometimes online, and it was just interesting that it's just interesting now hearing that baseball starting to turn an eye and change, and maybe that is what we need in hockey. But
Yeah.
I
uh,
think it's sorry. I think to the last point here. I think we have the answer. It's like it's just gonna have to be like a growing acceptance. Like if you're gonna be a fan, like listen, if that's what it's gonna take for people to tune off, like you know what I mean, to show a little bit of character, I think then that's what you have to do. I think for every one person you lose by showing a little bit of character,
you can gain
I'll
10
put
more
that
new
in air
guys.
quotes because you
Yeah.
exactly you're gonna get 10 more kids who are gonna be lifelong fans because of what they saw, Trevor Seagrass do, or name anybody who you could think in your head who's just that little bit flat, like has that little bit of flash, and then also is able to back it up as well.
So
So
the one last point I just wanted to make on this topic is when Christian said who's the captain of the biggest market in the league, you guys both thought John Tavares. I did not think John Tavares. It was Jacob Trouba that came to my head, right?
yeah, that's
But
another
hear me
one
out.
too.
But hear me out.
No, yeah.
that's one guy that does have a bit of personality, especially on the ice. He makes it known that
Yeah.
yeah,
maybe not for the best reasons all the time, but
but
But listen, bro, every league needs its villains, right?
yes,
Like, how many villains are there in the NBA? You can consider Kevin Durant a villain. Why do I, a casual NBA fan, know so much about Patrick Beverley? Because he's a shit disturber, right?
Mhm.
Like, you can market
does
guys
anybody
in many different ways.
does anybody know about Michael Bunting, who might be like the league's
Yeah,
next big rat? Like even like a
yeah,
Brad Marchand. Like if you take a census out of any NBA fan, like do they know who a Brad Marchand is? Like you could
yes,
probably compare him to somebody like a Pat Beverly, who will just start jawing at you for
or
for the
Tom
way that you look,
or
like
Tom
for
Wilson,
whatever
right?
reason.
Or
he
Tom,
might
Or
lick
Tom
you, bro.
Wilson, exactly.
but
Yeah. So
I just want to draw one more comparable to another
mhm.
sport that Dave and I are a big fan of soccer.
Yeah.
Diego Costa, Luis Suarez,
Yeah.
right? Like
Well, that sport itself, like if you look at the English league in particular, Bri, like look at it in the 90s when United were ruling
the drama,
the
the
roost. Like,
antics, right? Like they
well,
have
not even
players'
just that, but
personality.
it was so like it was a little bit more like there was personality like in terms of the players, but not like in terms of flash. Like if you think of like United in like the 90s, you think of like Roy Keane.
But
That
the
guy is
but the
the antithesis of like fun. But then you look at a team like Arsenal, who was their biggest rival, and then you got guys like Thierry Henry, who just made the sport enjoyable to watch. And it was like his antics, like stuff that he would say like in the press conferences after. Like people wanted to be Thierry Henry, right?
and
So
yeah, you're right. Maybe we can see some
100%.
kid growing up over in Anaheim wanting to be like Zegers in the future, and that would
Trevor
definitely be
Zegras,
interesting
100%.
look. Moving on to the next topic. There is a team that the Leafs lost to last night, and I did watch most
God.
of the game. The Montreal Canadiens or the Laval Rockets, and Laval Rockets or Montreal Canadiens in this situation have a couple players that are hurt. Um, they also have another player that used to be on their team. He was actually the team captain, Max Pacioretty, that was hurt. With a what was it? Was it a re-aggravated
Achilles.
Achilles tendon? Yeah,
He
Yeah.
he tore it. The original injury was that he tore it, and then he tore it again a couple nights ago. Let's start with Pacioretty in that case.
Mhm.
His status is yet to be updated, but we do have confirmation. I don't know if it was the team or a reporter tweeted out that he underwent an MRI to confirm that he did tear the same Achilles tendon. So he's presumably LTIR bound. And like I said, that initial injury, the first time he tore this Achilles was back in August. It was just doing like off-season training. Like he was just skating and he tore it in training. And he was out until January 5th of this year. So August to January, 5-ish months. Um, so the pretty long time. If he's dealing with the same recovery timetable, he's gone for the season. And guys, we're aware Patrick is a pretty freaking good player. Even in the 5 games that he played for Carolina this year, he put up 3 goals in 5 games. Like seamless fit for the Hurricanes. They were ecstatic. Like let's remember what that trade was. Do you guys remember
it was for
what
nothing.
it was?
Futures.
Literally for nothing. It was one and only everyone's favorite player, Mr. Future Considerations. Okay, and they also got Dylan Coghlan in it. Whatever he's played games for Carolina. Like there was no way Carolina could lose this trade. This is the worst case scenario for Carolina, and they're still coming out basically not even because they got Dylan Coghlan. So you got him for free too. Like first, it's just weird to look back and look at how much of a heist that trade was. Obviously, I feel terrible for Pacioretty, the player, because when he is healthy, he's good, man. Even back last year, 40 games or 39 games, 37 points. The guy is still on his A game for a 34-year-old. And I do have sympathy for him. I've also got not sympathy because they're in our conference, but I feel for the Canes because they've been looking for their Pacioretty for like 2 seasons now. And they got to go out and find another one. It's gonna be tough.
Yeah.
I
100%. Well, sorry, Brad. Like you mentioned one thing, like, dude, Max Pacioretty is always like you could always shoot that guy in for 30 goals,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
He's the most consistent 30 goal scorer. I think I've seen. Well, there's definitely a lot of players, but he's definitely on that list.
Yeah.
Dude, losing him like that's a guy like he's eating up like seven. What's that? 7 mil of cap space, so that gets sent to the long term. But it's like, would you rather have that caps like that cap relief, or would you rather have
Yeah.
30 goals of Max Pacioretty? I'll be
Yeah.
honest with you, I think I'd rather have Patches in the lineup, right? Like he
100%.
makes your top six better. We talked about Carolina a couple episodes ago. They were on like a what was it, 8-game win streak, Christian, or 10-game win streak?
Yeah, it was
reverse
right after I jinxed them. I did, yeah. The reverse jinx.
You reverse jinxed them. You said like Teuvo Teravainen's got no
Had,
goals,
like,
and then
one goal.
He popped off for like 10 right after that.
No,
So,
literally, man. Oh.
Yeah. And then you add somebody like Patches to that forward group, and of course, like you're playing under Rod Brindamore. Whatever you thought he was going to bring into the season,
10%
temper
on
your
top of
extra.
that.
Yeah, you add another 15 to 20% on top of that just because of Rod the Bod. Like, it's just so unfortunate. Like, again, I guess I could say that because like the Canes aren't in our conference. I probably feel more sympathy for them than the other two injuries we're going to discuss after.
Yes,
But
that's a good point.
for a team like Brian, I know for you especially, like you're probably like not
Grinning
gutted
under
about it.
your, he's got the mask on them.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm not
Like
crying.
you never want to
Right?
see, you never want to see a guy like that go down. Especially like that's a gruesome, like that was not gruesome, but like it was a tough
It's a
watch.
major injury, man.
He's a
Right?
good player too.
This isn't minor at all.
It is a major injury. And we've seen players come back, notably Eric Carlson, Anze Kopitar
Yeah.
in the past. It is something you come back from, but second time in less than a year.
2 in a year.
Yeah, that's like he's gonna be susceptible to this now for forever.
Is it
right?
Is it the same leg?
Yeah.
It was the same Achilles.
Yeah,
So-
and
what I
it
mean.
was under his own, not under his own power, but like it wasn't like by force. He was behind the net. He just kind of turned and he felt it.
It was like a meaningless, like not meaningless, but it was like a low risk type of event. So now this is my question: if that happened with such like little force and like such little it being a low event type of injury, like for it to reoccur, is that an overlook maybe on the medical staff? Like, did they perhaps clear him too quick? I'm not a doctor, so I don't know what the recovery is for an Achilles.
I
but
know I know for a fact
I would imagine
that this is like the one medical thing I know. Tendons have less blood like in them typically relative to muscles. Like that is like I don't know how I know this.
There's not blood flow.
I can confirm.
Yeah.
So I feel like a doctor, but like I know I feel so proud, boys. Mom's gonna be so happy, but because of the fact there's less blood flow, the healing is slower than a normal muscle. So it is actually worse to damage a tendon relative to a muscle nearby, and that can
100%.
I gave you my
I can literally attest to that. I can point to my knee right now. My knee is wonky. It doesn't work. It doesn't exist sometimes.
Guy's got a wonky knee.
And
I literally, man.
This is the type of injury I feel that, if it is susceptible, 1-2 more times, career ending maybe, potentially. Like you don't,
dude. I'm telling you, like I feel like
I'm already thinking.
Shut him down for the season.
Yeah.
Like I think that's obvious at this point that he's going to be shut down, but like I don't even know if next year is a possible, right? Yeah.
Is he signed into next year?
No, I don't think so. I'll check.
If he's not signed till next year, would you guys even take a flyer?
Would a team take a chance on him?
I would definitely look at a flyer, 100%. But it can't be for like
a UFA. Yeah. Doesn't this remind you of the same conversation we had with Andre Kasha, also Carolina Hurricanes, right?
Yeah, two different types of injuries.
Yes.
Yeah, like I would honestly go as far as to say like the Kasha injuries, like
Worse.
as much as a torn Achilles is like, it's terrible, it's awful, but like if you're dealing with brain and concussions and all that type of stuff,
Yeah.
those risks are probably much higher. Like it puts them at a greater risk, I would say. But even still, like, to take a flyer on Max Pacioretty next year, there's definitely
I think
teams that
so
will
many
be
teams would.
interested.
Yeah.
A hundred
Yeah.
percent. Like there's no shadow of a doubt. He definitely has the talent. Like we're looking at the talents right here. The small sample size, 5 games, 3 goals. Like it's not like the talent's not there.
Yeah.
He's arguably
So
guaranteed.
100.
He's arguably guaranteed like point eight PPG.
It's
Like
like they've
Yeah,
said,
yeah,
probably.
shoe him in
yeah.
for okay, like injury now maybe changes the bar, but let's say at his age, I would still
20
count him in
goals.
for 25 goals. Yeah,
Easily.
Yeah,
yeah. Playing
I
on your
think 20
PP1,
goals.
right? Yeah,
20
And
goals on a flyer
I'll tell you,
flyer deal, like a low risk deal, dude. For somebody like that, even if he gets hurt, maybe you could because that's another thing too. It's the Achilles now, but it has also been other things in the past. Was it not his back not too long ago as well?
might have been. What was the injury he sustained? The Chara hit, like that
that
changed.
Dude,
was
I was about
bad.
to say, yeah, like
Yeah,
that's a rough
he's
hit as well.
had
Like he's just had brutal
he's
luck
had
with
some tough
injuries.
luck.
So
Yeah, man.
You know what?
Before we move to another player, I just want to, on a more on ice related note, back to the Canes. Um, to me, the natural target, because they're going to have to make an actual trade now. They're not going to be able to fleece a team and get a patch ready for future considerations again. Um, to me, the easy answer is Tarasenko. Like I could totally see them getting Tarasenko if the Blues are out of it. That is the
Oof.
most
wow,
Pacioretty-esque player I could see on the Hurricanes. Like that makes
wow.
total sense to me. I just want to throw that out there. We'll see if that happens, but he seems like the closest thing that they could get to a Pacioretty.
You might be right.
One X factor that I think Pacioretty has is his like leadership skills, and Canes,
Yeah,
they will be missing that, but they do have one of the best coaches in the league behind the bench to provide them that extra push and motivation. It always sucks to lose a captain level player. He obviously was the captain of Montreal Canadiens, who I previously mentioned suffered 2 other injuries. Cole Caulfield, let's start with him. Um, Shoulder injury, I believe, requires surgery and
yeah,
will be out for the rest of the season. Uh,
yeah.
my take on this is that it doesn't matter because they're guaranteed to miss the playoffs. Let the guy recover and start him back next season. How about you, Christian?
So when I was looking at stuff, just information on the injury, um, I saw there was a couple of Josh Anderson quotes. He's already undergone the same surgery that Kaufman's about to go through. And I think that was kind of at the tail end of his Columbus tenure. And he had a quote where he's like, "I already told Cole that your shoulder will actually feel stronger than your regular shoulder after the surgery." So it feels like we feel pretty safe saying that this isn't going to be like a problem. Shouldn't really be a worry going into next season. He's going to get a surgery. He'll be out for the season. He'll be fantastic. Good to go. And just considering the fact that he's been playing through this injury for at least going back to early December, someone pointed out a hit against, it was a hit by Trevor Lewis on Cole Caulfield on like December 12th that we saw him like visibly kind of shaking his shoulder, going through the motions. If he's been dealing with it even that long, which is only a month and a half, like Cole Caulfield, guys, what's he been doing this season? He's been putting up numbers
Numbers. Yeah.
26 goals in 46
Already.
games for 36
Mhm.
points. Like, I just want to give my kudos to Caulfield for playing through the pain. And he's not been a passenger, he's been a leader for Montreal, and a young leader at that.
It's
So,
for me, it's crazy how you can already see like Montreal having that kind of that historic like lineage in the sense that we saw the way that Deneau kind of brought Suzuki in, right? Now you're seeing Josh Anderson, the guy that plays above him, plays above Caulfield, just guiding him a little bit. I've had this surgery, like you got this. It kind of speaks to the leadership and the culture that they have over there. Something special, I think.
and we
But
talked about coaches. Like, I feel like it's with the coach there too. Martin St. Louis has been fantastic, and specifically for Cole Caulfield, right? Like,
Oh
remember
yeah.
what Caulfield was doing at the start of last year? Like
Did he
one
only
goal
have
in
one
30
goal?
games. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Martin St. Louis comes in. He finished last season, guys, with 23 goals in 67 games played. So let's ballpark it: 30 games with one goal, and then he scored 26 or 25 goals in the next like 24-ish games. Like, that's absurd.
You
Absurd
know
stuff.
who also had roughly around the same types of numbers like that?
Hey, man.
60 goal scorer Austin Matthews.
Yeah, like
In that
literally,
same
man.
in that
Yeah,
same time frame, yeah, they were like, let's say that they were both hitting like on pace. Like
yeah.
Cole Caulfield would have been up there. Like even on the pace right now, 26 and 46 probably lands him at just about 50
Two men for
goals.
40,
Shoe in for
right?
40. I
Yeah.
think shoe in at 40, 100%. I think he's probably scratching at 50 with those types of numbers. Like, of course, 100%. It's a huge loss, but you'd rather have this type of injury now when the Habs are, not in the running than this injury happen, 3 to 4 years down the line when the Habs are, contending for a playoff spot, potentially contending for like for the cup, right? If this happens now and maybe he comes back even stronger, it's only going to help the Habs. Um, so that's honestly all my thoughts on that. Like, I'll
It's
be honest with you, it makes
Yeah.
sense. Like, why keep him going when you could potentially do more damage to him if he's in the lineup every night than just
Yeah.
get the surgery done, call the season a wash. You've kind of figured that the season's a wash already. Like, you're not going much farther up from here. Like, beating the Leafs is always great and all, but you can't beat the Leafs 82 times in a year either. So,
Dave, there's nothing
uh,
better than beating the Leafs. We know this, right? And the players have said it
yeah,
themselves.
everybody knows it. Mark
Listen,
Scheifele
there's
just
one
confirmed it.
exactly. There's one thing that we can touch on the Caulfield front still, and that's his contract status. He's an RFA at the end of the year. There's been a little bit more buzz about negotiations going on. I think his agent's already come out. Either the team or the agent came out and said this injury isn't going to impact those negotiations. Everyone's on the same page. There's not worry from the team. So where do we think the number lands potentially on Caulfield? Because we're looking at his finished season. He's not going to be playing any more hockey before his next contract. The comparable I heard thrown around, at least starting point, is Matt Boldy, who
Boldy.
we talked about
Yeah.
last episode, right? Um, I'm giving Caulfield more than Boldy just at face
Oh,
value, to be honest.
100%.
Now listen, like, is Caulfield the best player in his own zone? Maybe not the best. Um, he's on the smaller side, but offensively, you can't fault this guy's game. He's an underrated playmaker as well, right? There's not many guys in the league you want shooting the puck other than Cole Caulfield. And like I said, I think his playmaking is underrated. And if he's dominating for you offensively, I don't see any reason why he shouldn't be getting more than 7x7. I'd be comfortable with giving him like up into the $8 million range. Like, I'd
So
give him an
here's
8x8 any day. I think that would be a sweetheart deal.
here's the question, Christian. Does he make more than his captain? That was the story that I heard. That was the scenario that I saw thrown around.
Yeah.
So what's Suzuki's AAV at? Is he's still in the
7, I
sevens,
believe.
or is he in
7.875. Here
so just a
under,
hair under 8?
I'd give him a matching deal, no problem. Like,
If he
now,
matches, I think that's an odd, like, even at 8, like
yeah,
into the 8s, like you're still like that's a huge steal of a contract. But if you're able to put him at the exact same deal as the captain, have them 2 matching contracts, man, that deal will age like a. I'm
fine
gonna
wine.
use this analogy again, like a Pinot Grigio, a nice Sauvignon Blanc. That's gonna be a Chardonnay in the future. Beautiful.
I've seen I've watched a lot of Caulfield in my life. A lot of Caulfield. He has potential to hit 55, 60 goals. Like,
Yeah.
it's gonna happen. It's one of those things that we all expect to see in a couple of years when the Habs are contending for playoff spots or even making playoff runs in the future, right? I think he's better than Boldy. I'll be completely honest with you guys. Caulfield has
Yeah.
an extra dynamic push that Boldy's just missing just a little bit of, and Caulfield, you're guaranteed goals, right?
Yeah.
You got to pay for premium for that. Mind you, his defensive capabilities aren't the greatest, or
Still, man,
but
I'll take it, bro.
but I think, like you said, 8x8 is more than fair, and Suzuki and Caulfield for the next 8 to 7 years or whatever it is. Oh, that's gonna be a deadly duo in a few years. I feel bad for you guys.
Make it a trio, man. Throw in the next guy too. The next injury, Slafkovsky, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
listen, like, has he had the same incredible start to his career as a Caulfield?
Nope.
No. He's got 4 goals in 39 games played for 10 points. And Brian hit us with the good old J Fresh tweet, which is either a kiss of, in this case it was a kiss of death. Like, I feel like Brian's now made his opinion on Slafkovsky. Like, I feel like it's not going to change it. Anyways, Jay Fresh is he's got his player cards, and Slafkovsky's projected WAR is in the 6th percentile in the league. So that is very not good. But to me, like, and let me go back. His injury is a knee injury. He's on a 3-month timeline to get back. Doesn't require surgery. There's a chance we see him back. Honestly, I would honestly
Just
shut him
keep him
down
in
for
the
season 2.
Just walk it off.
Right?
He's
Yeah,
I'll
done.
be
or
honest
does
with you.
come back, throw him on a rehab assignment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Don't bring him back up here. I think it was
No.
not a big mistake, but because it was like you have to make the choice of, do you want him to play the season or not. I don't think
Yeah.
he was ready, which is completely fine, because the other guys, like, in and around his draft, like, you look at Shane Wright, doesn't look like he was NHL ready. Maybe he could have been on another team, but with his scenario, he just wasn't. Going into a team like that where you're not expected to win a lot this year has to be tough for a guy like that. So honestly, I call it a wash for him. Hopefully it doesn't like stunt a lot of his development, but I think, yeah, either you shut him down for the rest of the year, or you consider sending him down while you have the chance, just to, get a little bit of confidence back up, and maybe at the end, if at the end of the conditioning stint, you call him up for the end, I guess. But I don't think anything more than that, honestly.
So, Dave, I had like the same thoughts as you, just with the first overall pick. Is there media pressure, or like, were they afraid of the fan response to having a first overall pick that you don't start in the NHL? That was what I was thinking. That might have been the
When
rationale.
was the last one? When was the last
I know
one?
the last
Howard.
one. Exactly, which was very, very recently. So they could have had an excuse to send him down and be like, guys, look at Owen Power. He didn't play in the NHL his first year. Like, he's pretty freaking good. They could have used that. They had that in their bag. They didn't use it. And let's not forget, they've made the same mistake in recent memory. A lot of Carolina, Montreal crossover here. Kakanyemi, right?
Yep.
That is the comparable here. And that was a different regime. This is a new regime now. So that's interesting in that respect. Just on Slafkovsky himself and rookie season, we can't call him a bust or anything yet. But like, to me, I believe in that guy's potential. At his high end, like, he could be like an Andrei Svechnikov. Another Carolina comparison. We got all the Carolina Montreal stuff here. But like, he's the same mold. Sniper, huge body, and like power forward, right? He could absolutely be that for Montreal. So we talk about, injuries are the unfortunate, but on the whole, for Montreal and the objective of this season,
There's
it might not be the worst thing ever.
There's one more thing I just want to bring up.
Yeah.
People don't realize that the players like from this age group and the next 4 or 5 down had their development stunted by COVID. As bad as that sounds, I don't think that we should expect number 1 overall picks to play right away just because of that alone. Obviously, Bedard, you can write that off. He's playing in the NHL right away. But legitimately, players, sometimes they might need extra time, and especially because they lost 2-3 seasons. I think it was that junior wasn't running consistently, or even just youth leagues.
One for sure, and I think the second one was like on and off, because like, I remember the QMJ show was like, okay, we got to shut down. At least a year and a half they lost.
Moral of the story is that like, 1-2 years in your prime growth development years makes a big difference, regardless of what people believe. And when you throw in the idea of experience, not having that different game, it just makes even being around a big fan base, right? Like let's say like Montreal, as you might not be used to having haters online or people getting mad at you for why you didn't backcheck or something like that, right? It makes a big difference, and the whole of the world. I think that Slafkovsky does need to take the time to develop further. It's gonna be fine. I mean, new players don't usually do well right away. You gotta give them a couple of years. Prime example, my favorite player, Jack Hughes. Look what he's doing now. So yeah,
Yeah, I always point back to a guy that I really believe in that hasn't broken through yet, and he's been up and down in the NHL and the AHL. Quinton Byfield. So I've got all the faith in the world in a guy like Quinton Byfield. So um, I don't think Habs fans are sweating it just yet on Slav, and just around the league, I don't think we should be sweating it on him either. He's got lots of time to show us what he's capable of.
well, we have 10 minutes left before we go. 9 minutes now before we go on break. I'm gonna take it over. We're gonna do a bit of capitals, and yeah, we aren't the best team right now. Going into the All-Star game, Ovechkin gets his annual cold, shoulder injury, whatever it is. That's coming up soon. But one thing I just want to point out about the Capitals: Sonny Milano, Nicholas Backstrom, Tom Wilson. The BMW line. We talked about the F-150 line. We talked about the F-150 line
Dude.
earlier this year. I prefer foreigns, and this line is amazing. I'm
10
super,
out of 10, Brian.
I'm super ecstatic
10 out
to
of
see
10.
Backstrom like being able to cycle the puck with Milano, and then you have Wilson back in form, chasing the puck. They create turnovers like crazy. Wilson still has that effect of him where he's able to win battles in the corner like nobody else. I know that it's an underrated like aspect of Tom Wilson. Everybody always says, "Oh well, he's shooting, he's just strong." No, the best part of Tom Wilson is that he's able to win puck battles in the corners. Gets it to Milano.
That's important, man.
Really important, especially when if we get possession, Backstrom and Milano, they can cycle the puck well, and the possession leads to goals, and that's fundamentally how we win games, right? Obviously, we just got blown up by Vegas 6-2, but before that, we did play against the Coyotes. We did win 4-0. A great showing from the Capitals. I love the Coyotes reverse retros. I kind of want one with Keller on the back, but we'll see. You can actually get one at NHLShop.ca, NHLShop.com. Use our link below. But Darcy Kemper, I just want to shout him out, even though he did allow 4 goals last night. 5 shutouts, man, leading the league.
Wow, I
Was
didn't
he
know that.
actually?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Got to tip our hat to that.
I would have thought for sure it'd be a Bruins goalie. Probably obviously Olmark.
I think
They're
Olmark
probably
has
up there too.
Olmark has 3
Yeah.
last time I checked. But
Okay.
come on,
Is he
5's
like in second? Probably.
yes, yeah. But 5's pretty good. And I know
Oh,
Yeah.
100%.
No, that's really good.
You lead the league. You're the best.
and and I know that me specifically, I wasn't too fond of dropping our 2 goalies, Vitek Vanacek, Ilya Samsonov, and bringing in 2 foreign goalies. But GMBM hit the nail on the head on another offseason. I think honestly, going back to what GMBM has done this offseason, I think that we've won the offseason last year. Picking up guys Sonny Milano, Dylan Strome, and these 2 goalies, they're paying dividends now, and I'm glad to see that this team has something forward to look forward to, and has something forward to look
Something
has
to look forward
something
to.
to look forward to. I messed it up 3 times, but at the end of the day, playoffs are coming up soon. We're still in the hunt. I'll be honest, I don't think we're going to finish top 3 in the division just because injuries. Allegedly, I also heard that TJ Oshie is suffering a back injury now because of a heel injury earlier this season or something like that. Because the back and the heel
Trying
are
to compensate.
they're technically connected,
all
right?
connected.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, man, if we lose Oshie, that's a big loss because Oshie and Gustafsson have this beautiful set play where Gustafsson fakes a slap shot but actually throws it towards the middle of the ice, and Oshie, the wizard of tipping, tips it in.
Big tipper.
Oh my god, we're gonna miss that for the next couple weeks probably because Oshie's gonna be out. And
Dude, I
Ovechkin.
feel like this is like the fourth Oshie injury. Like
Yeah.
every other podcast, Brian's coming out. He's like, "Hey guys, Oshie's injured." Oh,
Again.
again.
Yeah,
He-
it's all for another 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
That's a guy that I think needs to maybe like take some time off, legitimately. But the
Yeah.
thing is, like, if
He
if
won't.
he's ready to
Always going on
play,
playoff runs.
yeah, we're always making it far. We're always competing, and if he's ready to play, I mean, a guy like that that plays with so much vigor and passion isn't gonna want to take that time off, right?
No, 100%. You can't. You wouldn't be able to sit him 100% unless like something genuinely like he suffers a long-term injury. Yeah, you're not taking him out for longer than like whatever it needs to be. Like you're not gonna pull him aside and be like, hey, listen, it's for your health. Like if you want to play like another year, that's not happening. It's for TJ. It's like go until he just can't go basically anymore.
And there's another guy that I wanted to shout out that I absolutely was disgusted with at the beginning of the season. He's playing first line with technically on the Ovechkin line, but now it's the Dylan Strome line. Nicholas Aube-Kubel. He's really
Oh, what? Are you kidding, bro?
He-
He's on the first line.
yeah. It's right now it's Mantha, Strome, and Aube-Kubel, but
Oh my God.
Oh my
it
god.
should be Ovechkin, Strome, Aube-Kubel. And I'll tell you what,
What the hell?
he as a stopgap, he's not bad. Just like to put him there, he does his job. He does exactly what we need him to do, which is not mess up and just like get the puck to Strome, get the puck to Ovechkin, and
He's just a punt.
yes,
He's just you throw him out there. Hey, Nick, play hockey. Just don't do the other stuff. And yeah,
He's Brock Purdy for the San Francisco 49ers. Just a stop.
I feel like that's a disrespect to Brock Purdy, man.
Oh, it's 100% a disrespect to Brock Purdy.
and
I feel bad because like Brock Purdy's talented.
hey,
Pretty
Aube-Kubel,
good.
not
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
he's not hasn't been too bad. He hasn't been too bad.
Okay.
We also have Nick Dowd injured, huge loss.
No.
He's not gonna be back for another, I think, 1 or 2 weeks, but that's perfectly okay because we're running the four-headed dragon right down the middle. Dylan Strome first line, Nicholas Backstrom second line, Lars Eller third line, fourth line center is Mr. Evgeny Kuznetsov playing
Oh my God.
playing with Marcus Johansson and Garnett Hathaway. And what I can tell you right now is that this is the weirdest line I've ever seen play in my life. Because
This is like if Keith said, "Hey guys, I gotta throw the lines in the blender. I'm putting Tavares with Engvall and Cagliari. Engvall and Zach Aston Reese. That's the new fourth line." Like what did you just say?
Laviolette is running four lines right now.
He's just rolling them.
He's just throwing them out.
I mean,
He's picking them out of a hat right now. As we speak.
Oh man.
and every single game looks like he's changed the lines just a little bit, but I don't know, man. Like I think we all know that we're probably gonna get into the playoffs. I think at this point, just damage control, just get in and try not to get hurt. Right? We have way too many injuries to even want to deal with that. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe putting Kuznetsov with two guys that are pretty defensively sound might be what sets him over the edge, because Kuznetsov's obviously been known not to be the best defensively. But
And I'll tell you what, I'm sure they guarded Hathaway, and who'd you say the other player was?
Marcus Johansson.
Okay, so Mojo not as much, but like Garnet Hathaway, I'm sure he's like absolutely psyched up to be like, I'm playing with Kuzi, right? Like I'm sure he's probably elevating his play a little bit too, man.
Can you imagine? Like I can already see it, man. Like Kuznetsov just try to deke his way to the net, and then finds Hathaway crashing the net somehow, somewhere.
He's just been stood there the whole time, hasn't even moved his feet. Just guys try to get him, just casually cross checks them. Oh, the puck's here, puts it in.
Scores. But
That's it. I changed my mind, Brian. I love your fourth one.
but it is a weird dynamic. I do.
Yeah.
I am entertained by the whole four center thing. Like each one of the centers is technically like not bad, but Dowd is a big loss, and that is
You know
another
what this
injury.
is, Brian? This is like a TV show that you watch and just it's getting really dull in the middle of the season, and they throw in just the random episode where random stuff happens. That's what this is for you, Brian.
It's
You
the
know what I mean?
random
That's
filler
like-
episode.
Exactly. This
Yeah,
is the random
yeah.
filler episode, and they've just said, "Screw it." Everybody plays out of their position. We just roll in lines, and whatever happens, happens. I kind of dig it.
But yeah, that takes us right to the 60th minute mark. I'm done with the capital stuff. I apologize for taking the last 10 minutes, boys. But you guys owe me for the Leafs last season. You guys owe me for the Leafs last episode. We're gonna go on break, and we'll be right back. All right, so we are back. I just came back from the washroom. These guys were doing some. I don't know. They're probably just talking. But we'll move on to our next topic. We saw that the league's worst kept secret ever. The Vancouver Canucks were talking to Coach Rick Tocchet while they had their main man behind the bench, Bruce Boudreau, coaching his final game for the Canucks. What an interview, guys, and what a scene that we had there. I didn't watch it, I'll be honest with you guys, but I felt the emotions. I'm a big Bruce Boudreau fan, given his success with Washington in the past. But you gotta feel for the guy, man. I feel like he was really left out to dry. What do you guys think?
I can't think of forget about like anything hockey wise similar to this, but like help me out here, boys. Anything in sports you've seen play out like this with a coach that knows he's out the door. We know who the next coach is.
Yep.
The fans are on the coach's side. They're cheering for the coach. Like, you actually do have a
Do you have
comparable.
one, Bri?
Yep. What's his name?
Was it
Like,
Chelsea?
What sport?
No, it's soccer. It's Manchester United. I forgot his name.
No.
Ollie Gunnar. Yeah,
Don't
it's
say
Ollie.
Ole.
It was Ollie,
Dude,
bro.
everybody wanted him out. Nobody was backing
he
him at
knew-
the end.
But the idea was that he knew he was out, and you
Okay.
guys had that guy coming up
Yeah, okay.
right behind.
Okay, that has happened before. Like,
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
you're right. In sports, we do sometimes know who the replacement is before the actual coach is fired.
Yeah, well,
I'll give you that,
have
yeah.
to like have a knowledge, right? Because it's like you're looking at these people. Like if you're not in the
Yeah.
like the run of form, so like in the case of Man United, like that team was self-imploding basically on itself, which is what the Vancouver Canucks did this year, right?
I think they're a good comparable. I think they're actually very similar.
I think
Big market team.
the only the only thing that's different is that he did like Ollie didn't have the. I don't know if he
Fan
didn't have the
support.
support of the fans, and it wasn't like because of him. They like the ownership kind of just threw him in a bad position. Although like the guys,
Same thing here though.
yeah, it was, but it also wasn't like he didn't do himself any favors. Like his actual tactics just they
Sucked.
weren't at the level. Basically,
He was a bad
right?
coach.
He wasn't a great coach. He'd be
Okay.
a good like motivational like assistant, I guess. But like it would have been like that's as much. Maybe that's what Boudreau that's what they've been saying
Yeah.
that they've been looking to offer Boudreau. Like I know they were like some people were saying like, oh, the Leafs should take a look at him. I was like, I don't know, if you're gonna add somebody like that mid-season, that's pretty tough. But maybe
Yeah.
next year if he doesn't get a permanent job. But I think any team that wants a good PR win hires Bruce Boudreau. Like if you
100%,
wanna if you're the who's not had a good PR win
Chicago.
recently? Chicago Blackhawks,
Dude.
Columbus Blue Jackets. One of you guys, like somebody like that, just ring them up. Be like, oh, Anaheim Ducks. Maybe that's where he goes. Get rid of Dallas
Back?
Eakins.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
sucks, dude.
bring
He
him back
sucks.
to Anaheim because was he at? He was at Anaheim, right?
Yeah, dude. Remember there was like 3 Game 7 losses in a row.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
He was
and it's
there
not
in
like the Leafs had
Minnesota.
like 6 Game 7 losses in a row.
Yeah,
So
it's okay.
Yeah,
We're gonna leave that behind. He's also a Leaf fan too, so it runs in our blood.
He's a huge Leaf fan. Yeah, like I can't think of like it was just surreal seeing this play out and how many different perspectives we got. Like such an open secret. So many different quotes. Boudreau post game saying that he had the players come into his office one by one, crying while he was crying to say goodbye to him. And I'm just envisioning that in my head. That's so sad. Bro.
JT Miller
That
there?
is so sad, man. That's a good question. You know what's
Was
funny?
JT Miller
Dude, what if
was
it, what if
JT
it,
Miller
what if it,
crying crocodile tears? Like
Bruce? I love you, man. You don't know how hard it's been to play defense. I've been working my butt off. Yeah, no,
yeah.
I don't think so. But you know what's funny is one of the clips I did watch. It was all the fans were like, Bruce, there it is, and Bruce is like teary eyed. He's pointing his heart, and he's like, "You fans are all the best." And there's only one player sitting on the bench. This is right after the game ended. All the other Canucks players are on the ice. Hey, goal, hey, whoever it was, Spencer Martin, Devco, hey, good game, hey, whatever. And then there's just JT Miller, stone cold. Like, I don't know what he was doing. I don't know what he was doing. So it's funny that you bring that up because honestly, if there was one dude that didn't go to see, I think all of
It
our
would be
bet
him.
is on
Yeah.
Timothy Miller. Yeah, and just like seeing people's public opinions, like Ryan Whitney. This was before the weekend, but he was like, it's an absolute disgrace that Vancouver hasn't fired Boudreau, and they're bringing him out there every day, making him answer these questions. Like, how do you have zero respect for a guy who's been in the game for more than 4 decades, right? Like, they were asking him, like, you got to ask, like, what does it mean to coach in the NHL? Just a very philosophical, broad question, and it brought Boudreau to like be teary eyed. He's like, it means a lot, man. It's really special. I gotta cherish these couple. Like, I feel for that guy. I know he said like we wouldn't mind seeing him get another gig because he's such a good guy, but for the mental health and bro, even his just for Bruce Boudreau's sake, I just want him to take a nice long vacation right now. I want him to go home and just turn on the TV, like throw on the Leafs game, and just do nothing, Bruce. Do nothing for a little bit. You deserve to just
So
chill the fuck out because you did not get that in your time in Vancouver.
so last episode you guys said that, well, yeah, you guys made a really good comparable to the Vancouver Canucks. It's like a dysfunctional sitcom, right? So this is like if the fan favorite character leaves the show,
Yeah,
goes off to Paris, New York, whatever it
Greener
is,
pastures.
whatever, follows his
A new
dreams.
spinoff.
Now we have the new guy coming, Rick Tocchet, right? And
yeah.
yeah, he doesn't change
Brian, before you
anything.
continue, okay, there's actually someone made like a perfect comparison to that. It was this is Jason Brow. I don't know. He's on Twitter at Sad Club Commish. We'll give him that. He's verified. He's probably some reporter, but anyways, he's like, Talking must be absolutely terrified right now. It's going to be like introducing mom's new boyfriend to a fan base full of angry teenagers who miss their dad. That's what it is, bro. That's what it
Dude,
is.
people are gonna go feral. God forbid they lay a goose egg the first game. Oh my god, dude. There's gonna be riots on the streets again in Vancouver. Like,
Yeah,
oh my
not the first
god.
time we said that, man.
Not the first time.
I think
I'll
I think my
keep bringing it up,
favorite
Porto.
quote. I know, like we're making a little bit light of this situation, but my favorite quote was this was January 21st, so this was what's today, 22nd. So this was yesterday morning. This was like oh no, this is post game media scrum. Never mind, it was at 1 a.m. January 21st. So this is Friday night. They played, and he's like, "See you tomorrow. I hope." And, like, he's got some comedy in him, man. Like we knew that. We knew he was a funny guy, and I love that he was not trying to be professional. Like, okay, he was professional, but he was like, these guys have screwed me. Like, I'm being screwed over right now. He did not make it. Like, he didn't try to cover for that.
It just
he said, he's like, I'd be a fool to say I don't know what's going on. Like, the guy knows.
like
I
listen,
can't imagine
this
what that feels like.
this whole situation, like, okay, if we're gonna look at the past week, we found out about Rick Tocchet. Like, Rick Tocchet's name came about Saturday, January 14th. So last Saturday. And I remember this specifically because that was Hockey Night in Canada, broadcast to millions across, like, coast to coast across Canada.
Country. Yep.
So they had just lost a couple nights before to the Lightning, 5-4. They lost that night.
In that game.
He did. They lost that night to the Panthers. That loss against the Panthers set them on they were on a 4-game losing streak heading into that game against the Panthers. They won the next night on a back-to-back against the Canes and then proceeded to lose 3 straight games this past week. They played Wednesday, Friday, and yesterday. You're telling me after that game against the Lightning where they lost 5-2 on Wednesday, they couldn't pull Bruce aside and be like, "Hey, listen, we thank you for what you've done." I think Wednesday was when we really started to see like, we had the name on Saturday, then it was like, okay, we found out about the name, and then maybe by Monday he's gonna be gone. And then it was like Monday hit and he was still there. Then Tuesday hit, he's still at practice. Wednesday comes around, he's like, maybe I'll see you tomorrow, I hope. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why did we prolong a whole week? You guys had to lose to the
So-
Avalanche and the Oilers for him to to get the can. Like, why?
It's a
Like,
great
you
point,
did that
Dave.
to
And
yourself.
I'm telling you, like people have already figured it out. People have already figured out why this was the timing. You're Jim Rutherford and you're Patrick Alvine and you're probably Francesco Aquilini, and you're like, okay, how the hell are we going to get this fan base to meet the new stepdad coming in with mom, and how are they going to like him? And they're like, okay, we set Boudreau up for failure. We make him play all these good teams. They're going to get their asses kicked. And guess what? Rick Tocchet's going to come in, and 14 of the next 32 games are against teams that aren't in the playoffs or are in the bottom third of the league.
Like how convenient their next game on Tuesday is against the goddamn Chicago Blackhawks. Like,
and guess what? We talk about it again. Boudreau knows this too. This is from Farhan Lalji, quote by Boudreau. Boudreau says, "I don't know the reason I'm still here. Maybe because Chicago, Seattle, and Columbus are next. To the new group, good luck." He knew what the schedule was. Okay, he's the coach. He's going to know the schedule. But Seattle, Chicago, Columbus. I think Bruce still thinks Seattle's bad. Seattle is not bad, but Chicago and Columbus are bad. I feel like the connotation he's making there is, I must be a bad coach. So maybe they're like, maybe his like, oh, they're keeping me here because we're gonna play these bad teams and we'd lose. Like Bruce.
I hope they get embarrassed, dude.
Yes, exactly.
Like, it's not a slight against any of the players on the Vancouver Canucks except for maybe JT Miller, who we've ragged. And I don't even feel that. Like, I'm not even gonna try to go after him. I hope they get embarrassed on ownership's behalf against the Chicago Blackhawks.
But I'll tell you this: like, we're giving our kudos to Bruce Boudreau right now. We're giving our kudos to the fans because the fans have been fantastic throughout this, right? But I'm only giving like half kudos to the players. I know I read the thing, oh, they went in, said goodbye, yada yada. Bro, how do you not win one of these past 2 games? You're your goddamn coach. How do you not?
Yeah.
Like, do you have a skeleton? Do you have bones? Do you have a spine? Right? So I can't even go as far to be like, oh, I don't blame the players or whatever. Like, dude, win a goddamn game for these guys. Another quote from Boudreau on this point. This was kind of just someone asked him, like, what's your message to the fans? His message is, thank you. I don't know what I did to deserve it. Last year, the There It Is chant, I was worried about it, but it sure felt good yesterday and today. I just wish we would have won one of them, says Boudreau when asked of his message to the fans. Like, it's such a heartbreaking ending for it. Just how did we end up with the most likable coach with the most dysfunctional organization?
I think at the end of the day, like, it was a no-win. Like, even if they win, it was like yeah, you're sticking it to the higher ups, but it was like, but like at the end of the day, they had their mind made up. They've had their mind made up on Rick Tocchet or a new coach. Maybe Rick Tocchet wasn't the first name that came to mind, because like I know for sure it probably wouldn't have been my first name that came to mind. Like, probably a couple other coaches you could go down before you hit Rick Tocchet. No offense to Rick, like, didn't mind him on TNT the past couple of years, but you know, he wasn't a great coach in the league with the Yotes. Like, it's just like they were put in a no-win situation, and they chose to just
they come out worse than anyone could have ever thought.
Yeah, like, I don't get it. Like, for what reason? Like, aren't you supposed to mitigate problems as like the leader and like the owner? Like, isn't that your like goal? Like, do you want more problems for your team? Like, wasn't the problems that you had already bad enough? I don't get it.
Just to end this, there was another press conference today introducing Rick Tocchet, and it's a pretty star-studded coaching staff that they're bringing in here because his assistant coaches are Adam Foote and Sergei Gonchar, two pretty freaking good players in the NHL. I joked to Dave that like they're just assembling it's the assembly of bald men that's happening in Vancouver right now. Jim Rutherford, Patrick Allvin, and Rick Tocchet. These are men who they're lacking in terms of hair. Okay. Yeah, it's a follicle-free zone in Vancouver. Yeah, like I feel for Rick Tocchet now because I also just don't know how he's going to like come out on this in a good light, right? He is going to be painted the villain without having even done a thing yet. And like Patrick Allvin basically said at this press conference as the GM, he's like, so the decision was made this morning that we were going to let Bruce go. And
That's a lie.
it's like, are you exactly?
Come on, Patrick. Come on.
So I woke up this morning.
Dude?
Exactly. Like, do not take your fans, especially the Vancouver fans, who are very passionate, very intelligent fans. They speak their minds all the damn time. Probably only number 2 to the Leafs in terms of just activity. Don't take them for stupid. Don't insult the intelligence of your fan base. And it kind of feels like that's what they did. So I'm going to be very curious to see how the players react to this. And once again, they are in we talked about lose-lose situation with Boudreau going into the weekend. How does Vancouver like come out of this situation feeling good? Even if they start winning games, this team's not getting into the playoffs. You're now actively hurting your direction once again, right? Like it's a terrible situation, which we already addressed last episode. But they're the most directionless franchise in the league, and I don't know if the decisions they've made over the past weekend sets them in any new direction that they weren't in before.
I think best case scenario.
You got any thoughts? You've been quiet there, man. Yeah.
I think best case scenario, they lose over and over again.
So then, what do you? But then, like, do you feel better about that team next year, right?
But then at least you have a direction, and then you go out and say, you know what, this hasn't worked. We're going to go into rebuild. I think that's best case scenario.
Listen, I just hope Rick Tocchet signed up for a rebuild. Then that's
another one.
He's not a rebuilding coach.
Another one.
He's not
exactly.
He's not. But then again, like I don't know. It's Vancouver. I can't justify it.
You know, the rebuilding coach is the guy who you've never heard of that they bring up, and his job is to lose. That's a rebuilding coach. That's what they should have hired. That's what it should have been, right? Like, or you take the assistant from a team. It's his first head coaching gig, DJ Smith. I
still legitimately think that Jim Rutherford, Patrick Allvin, Francesco Aquilini, and whoever else is in charge, top to bottom, I still legitimately think that they believe next year that they're going to be in contention for a playoff spot, which with the talent on hand could happen. But you know, you're definitely losing Bo Horvat this year. You know,
in what world does this roster look better?
Oh, I'm not saying that.
No. I know.
No.
I know. It's more rhetorical than I'm saying it. Yeah.
In no world, even if they get the exact return that they want for Bo Horvat, which if I'm any team in the league and like Vancouver is asking for, they're asking for player now, like a decent player now. Yeah, young winger, whatever they're looking for, young player plus. It's like first round plus. You say, have fun letting your captain walk in free agency. Somebody else could pay that. I'm not going to pay that. Like, are you insane? Like, come on.
You hold them to the fire.
Yeah,
that's enough. Sorry, Brian.
So, back in the day, when farmers used to, they still
you're going really back in the day.
Okay. So farmers have to sell their product to merchants, correct? But what the merchants used to do was they would just say, you know what? Let's all band together. We're all not paying.
You boycott.
You tell the farmers, listen, like the merchants go together, and the merchants say, we're not going to pay over this price. Take it or leave it. And that way they can't shop us around, right? Could you imagine if it comes out that the league just does something similar for Bo Horvat against the Canucks? You know what? We're gonna set the bar low. We're all gonna set the bar low so that none of us have to overpay because we know that this team needs to do something. And if you force the hand,
collusion, Brian. That's what that's.
but
I'm
that's the
pretty sure
but
that's
it is
bro.
collusion. It is collusion. But let's be honest, it's the NHL. We've seen stuff like that before.
And
Yeah.
listen, we've
It's
actually
not
seen
out of the
a
ordinary.
very recent. Yeah, we've seen a very recent example of collusion in the MLB. It's basically been as close as you can get to proven without proving anything that the owners have colluded in terms of free agency for like the past 10 years and had like handshake agreements where we're not going to offer any top free agent more than like $300 million. That's the magical number. And the one owner who kind of disgruntled the rest of the owners was the Mets owner, Steve
Yeah,
Cohen,
Steve Cohen.
who's got
Big Daddy.
casual. He's got the casual, and he was throwing around left, right, and center. He was ready to sign Carlos Correa to that humongous deal, and apparently owners are like mad with that guy. Like, hey man, you broke the collusion code, man. So yeah, Brian, you're right. Sports is corrupt. I'd rather that not happen, to be honest. But I get it.
Me neither. But like, let's be
Yeah.
honest. Everybody and their mother knows that Vancouver, like, there's a fire there, right? Like they all see the smoke. They all see the smoke.
100%.
So at this point,
You hold them to the fire.
You know?
It's self-inflicted wounds, right?
yeah.
It's not like any of the other 31 like did anything to like help you know what I mean? Like
No,
hold
they
them to
jumped
the
off.
fire,
They
shake them
jumped
down
off the
as
cliff
much as you can.
themselves. They jumped off
Yeah,
the cliff
Vancouver-
themselves.
Dude, the Vancouver Canucks are that scrawny little like 8-year-old kid, and the rest of the league is going to be that bully a couple years older than them. They're grabbing them
Give me
by
your
their
lunch
feet.
money.
They're shaking them down for everything, and little dust balls are going to come out, little lint balls, maybe a pin, something like
His
that.
Game
That's
Boy,
all that the
man. His
Vancouver.
Game Boy. Oh.
That's all the Vancouver Canucks are going to offer you.
All right.
They're
All right.
shake them down for as much as you can.
Let's get
That's
off
a lot of
Vancouver.
Vancouver content for 2 weeks. Yeah.
Let's get off Vancouver.
I don't want to speak
That
about
was that was exhausting.
anymore.
Let's on a better note. Zach Hyman might be the most valued, dollar per value player technically per league in the league right now, given his situation, given his play. 56 points in how many games? Was it
47 games.
47
24 goals, 56 points in 47 games. And when I was trying to get Dave to guess before we started recording, I'm like, okay, Dave, guess. He's like, I don't know. It's over a point per game. I'm like, okay, here, I'll give you better context. Tell me what Matthews' point total is. It's like, well, it's got to be over 50. Matthews has 52 points. Zach Hyman is outproducing Austin Matthews at the moment. That is the context. He's tied for 11th in points in the entire league. How crazy is that? Guess who 3 of the guys ahead of him are? His teammates, right? Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is 1 point ahead of him. He's got 57 points. And, there's those 2 other guys, Draisaitl, McDavid. They're the cheat codes at the top of the league. But
I think
shout out to
he's
Zach Hyman, man.
I think he's reaping the rewards of playing on a very good line.
But he is the
100%.
ultimate complimentary winger.
Yes.
He would work with any star in the league, right? Just going back to his time in Toronto, he was the ultimate fixer. Me and Dave joke about we had the Ford F-150 line, and I don't know if we even ever brought it to the podcast. The Napa Auto Parts, the Fix It line, okay, man. And the head mechanic of the line was David Kampf, okay, and he's got his little apprentice, his co-op apprentice Pontus Holmberg. He's gonna be a big mechanic one day too, and Zach Hyman, he used to own the place, man. He was the boss of the Napa Auto Parts line there, man. Because any code, Babcock or Keefe, you throw them on a line, the line does good because Zach Hyman's on it, right? So I know it is Zach Hyman. He's not a superstar, but I really do think people underrate him a little bit. Like, that guy works so hard that he doesn't have to have the most skill. And the saying is always, you can't teach skill. I think you can, because Zach Hyman taught it to himself.
You can't teach work ethic.
Zach Hyman, you cannot teach work ethic.
work ethic.
You cannot.
Ask JT Miller.
Yes, literally. Ask Timothy. But Zach Hyman, Dave, tell me, like, what material were Zach Hyman's hands made out of in his rookie season? Stone.
Wood.
Yeah.
Yeah. That guy
Yes.
literally played with a two by fours on his arms.
Yes, bro. No, there was no fingers in his gloves. Okay, it was just he was playing
Just
like this.
nails.
He didn't know that you're supposed to put your fingers in the gloves. He didn't know that. He was just like this in there. Okay, so listen, how many players have we seen that like there's so many grinders in the league where you say, oh, that guy's a dog. He's a dog on a bone. Like he's got a work ethic like
He
you
got
cannot believe.
that dog in him.
He's got that.
Zach Hyman got that dog
You know how
in
many-
him, dude.
You know how many dogs he's got in his dog in him per 60, highest in the league. Highest in the
Dude,
league.
Zach
okay?
Hyman's dog in him is like it's like a veterinarian. No, a kennel, like a pound. That guy's running a pound in his soul. He's got 10 dogs at least.
So I don't even remember where I was going with this, but Zach, listen, Zach Hyman. That's it. That's all.
Here, this is one thing I want to say just very quick. It's crazy how I don't know if I was a part of this, but it's like looking back how as soon as Zach Hyman left Toronto and he signed that big contract in Edmonton, a lot of the talk here went from, wow, Zach Hyman, great complimentary piece. And you said it before, Christian. I think very underrated even still. Like I know the points and whatever product of playing on his line, but it was like it's so crazy how he went from, great complimentary piece to that maybe a little bit of an overvalued contract. His body's going to start breaking down in a couple of years. Like by the end of his contract, it's like, dude, like where's the middle part? Like I understand. Okay, we're only
You can't be that extreme.
Like, yeah, like it's only year 2 of a 5-year deal. Like who knows what it's going to be like in year 5? Like his body could definitely break down, but it's like that's also discrediting what Zach Hyman brings to the table. Like definitely not the most skilled guy in the world. Even he'll admit it. He's not the most flashy guy, but definitely, dude, since he's got into the league, I think since he's got into the league, I don't think he's had a season where he hasn't broken his previous point record. And
he's just on the up and up.
It just keeps going up. And if it, like, by chance, like, he did falter a year, it wasn't that much of a difference. And what he lacks in, what he lacked, I would say, in point production, he made up for in just being the fireman for the team. Like, that guy was putting out fires left and right. It's unbelievable. Like, that guy was in every corner. I honestly can't say more great things about that guy. I wish he was still on the Leafs, but,
business is business.
Business is business.
Like Zach Hyman, we talk about injury concerns, whatever. Zach Hyman will teach his body to repair itself. He'll become Wolverine. That's his work ethic. Zach career Hyman, he's the best.
I will also say this. I will also say this. He is very lucky. He upgraded from Austin Matthews, from his center partner. If you think about it,
how many times? I'm not even gonna dispute that, but how many times can you say that? Right? How many players can you say that with?
The
list is I have more fingers on one hand than the amount of players.
Yeah, that's the list. 100%.
But guys, we are at the half an hour mark of the second part of this. That means we're at 90 minutes in total. Anything else you guys want to say before we end it off?
I think we covered a lot today.
Everything.
Yeah, we did. All right, thank you guys for listening. This has been episode 17. Hopefully the exportation works. If not, you'll get a bunch of clips.
I think it's technically episode 18, but yeah.
There's the long lost episode now that like that SpongeBob episode where he finally finds the long lost episode. Yeah, we're gonna have that one day. 10 years from now, check back and you'll watch it.
Sad thing is, it's on the Google Drive. Like we have it technically, just
it's also it's also it's on my iMovie right now. It's still so whatever.
Okay.
We got it out in clips anyways. Yeah.
Anyways, thank you guys for listening. I gotta eat dinner. Shout out to Fubo, Razor, and NHL Shop. Get the phone app. Check out Dave's TikToks. And
check out our YouTube clip and whatever we post. Yeah, 100%.
Anyway, that's a wrap. When I'm in it there, I'm hungry. So yeah.
Okay.